I'm Leandra Riley, along with Bart Connor. We'd like to welcome you back to the Denver Coliseum in Denver, Colorado. After one rotation, the women's scores are very, very close. Lisa Panzironi leads Sheryl Dundas by only .15. On the men's side, it is also a close competition between Conrad Voorsanger and Mark Warburton. 0.4 of a point separates these two gentlemen. The men have now moved to the still rings. The women will compete on the uneven parallel bars, but we will begin with Conrad Voorsanger.
And at the rings, Conrad Voorsanger.
Voorsanger, of course, is coming off a really strong competitive season at Stanford. He was the Pac-10 all-around champion this year, and in the Winter Nationals, the re-ranking of the national team, he was 9th. Kip cross, nice mount. That's an L cross. There's a plunge. Keep in mind the judges are looking for strength elements as well as swing elements. There's that piked Yamawaki. We've seen it by some of the other competitors. L, and there's a press to handstand. He seems to be rushing just, oh, wow. Jeez. Looks like he's all right. He got tangled up in the rings. He twisted a little early. See what happens. Oh, in fact, his left hand completely ripped off, and he tried to hang on to the dismount, but what amazing air sense. He knew where he was.
Cat-like sense. He could rotate himself around to save himself.
Watch that ping right at the bottom. His left hand ripped off, and yet he was still going for a full twisting double back.
Why did his hand rip off? What makes that happen?
You'd be surprised at the amount of force as you swing through the bottom. It's hundreds of pounds actually force on that left hand guard. And so who knows, sometimes, you know, you catch a slick spot on the rings. Sometimes your hand guard breaks. Sometimes you just don't have it properly, the dowel rod properly looped around the ring when you bail for the dismount.
9.0, the score he received. He's trying to indicate that everything's okay and he's fine, but I think you called it exactly right. He just peeled off for no reason, and he really showed a cat-like sense to save himself. Mark Warburton may be able to expand on his 0.4 of a point lead over Conrad at this point.
In the qualifying round, Warburton scored a 9.6 on the rings. This is one of his better events. Kip to an L cross, the same mount that we saw Conrad Voorsanger use. Kip to an L. There's a straddle plunge. Giant right to the handstand. He has a little swing in the rings, but he bails for 2 piked Yamawakis in a row and a back upright to his straddle. Now look at the nice toe point, good extension. He really has a nice look. Look how locked out his arms are. That's important for control on the rings. Giant through the handstand and a clean layout double. Oh, just a little short.
Mark Warburton, the 21-year-old that was born in Burlington, Vermont, currently lives in New Hampshire.
Here's the combination of Yamawakis. Sort of like a double front in the rings. He does 2 of them in a row, keeping perfectly locked out arms. Great form and a back uprise to that very impressive straddle L position. His dismount was really clean. He did a giant over the top to a double back in a laid out position. Good, nice, tight arch. Just a little short of rotation.
And the score for Mark Warburton, 9.65. That gives him better than a 1-point advantage over Conrad Voorsanger. But as Conrad proved, anything can happen. If your hand peels off, that really could change the standings. You're looking now at Sheryl Dundas. She is standing in front of the uneven parallel bars. This is her second event. Currently in the standings, she is 0.15 behind Lisa Panzironi.
In the qualifying rounds, Sheryl had a 9.675 here. Giant half. Oh, she's in trouble now. Good job at controlling it. Free hip, free hip. Oh, she's in trouble. She got in trouble. She was going to do a giant with a full turn, and she only made the first half. So she tried to compensate by doing a free hip and hopefully turn again. She did 2 free hips and wasn't able to pull it back. She needed to turn to a half turn, reverse her direction to do the rest of her exercise. She'll lose a half a point. Then she has to continue on. Good release move. That's the reverse hecht. Free hip pirouette. The judges need to see changes of directions as she's showing, as well as work on both high bar and the low bar. Nice giant swing. 2 in a row. Beautiful. Tuck double back.
Well, the second half was certainly nice. That's too bad because in the preliminary round, she did get that 9.675.
Let's see if we can see what happens here. She does a straddle over, catches the high bar. Now she's going to cast up. She swings down for a giant swing with a half turn here. Right there's the half, but she wants to continue over the bar, and she has to fall back short. So she does a free hip, and then another free hip, and at this point, she cannot fall back the other way to turn and then continue
to save
the
herself.
exercise.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, she did pick up the rest of the exercise. Good, clean giants. Very high tuck double back dismount. But that mistake early is going to cost her a lot.
It sure did. The score that the judges gave her, 9.025. And now it is time for Lisa Panzironi to perform her uneven parallel bar routine. She is 16 years of age. She was born in Lima, Ohio. The family now resides in Columbus, but she trains in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Cast pirouette. Very powerful giant. Nice reverse hecht. And a front. 2 very good release moves, back to back. This is a great exercise so far. Nice cast the handstand right to the top. Good, powerful giants and a pike double back. Oh, she saved the landing, though.
We saw John Holman, who's congratulating her now, standing there at the beginning of her routine. What does that do for her score? Does it factor in as long as he doesn't touch her?
As long as he doesn't touch her on the uneven bars, the optional exercise, the coach can be out there because some of these release moves are pretty hairy. And of course, she handled them beautifully. The reverse hecht right to the front between the bars. Really good combination. That's a great routine. Her dismount, she had a little trouble here over rotating it. She did a really nice job in fighting the landing and not sitting down.
The score for Lisa on that uneven parallel bar routine is 9.55. She easily outdistances Sheryl Dundas, who received a 9.025. We'll be back with more, but first, these messages from our sponsors.